want to get back to this spending stuff. You liberals, you've got a problem on your hands. You're hanging out there all by yourselves. Your old tactics are not going to work. I'm going to tell you why. Here's a piece by Julie Hirschfeld Davis. Democratic senators gathered at a Virginia resort last week. Notice they never gather in Camden, New Jersey. What's that all about? Or East St. Louis. It's always at a Virginia resort. Where was I? And that Virginia resort's probably in a Republican district. So they gathered at a Virginia resort last week to plot political strategy. And they got alarming news from a trusted pollster. You know what it was? Republicans are winning the debate over dealing with the budget deficit. The Democrats learned that while the public's top concern is improving the economy, more voters view cutting spending rather than investing, quote unquote, as the best way to do it. And right now they trust Republicans more to do the trimming. Yeah, that's right, Barack, Harry, all the rest of the losers. Yeah, you shut down the government. And you're going to go out there and look at this. They're cutting heating. They're cutting the school lunch break. And you know what the people are going to say? Cut it! Cut it 1,000 times! Cut it! Because the people of the United States see what's going on in their country and in other countries. Cut it in order to save our society. All these damn programs. Who the hell benefit? Let me ask you a question. $5 trillion over 3 years. They've not created a net one job. I want you to think about this. When he came into office, unemployment, I believe, was under 8%. What this means, putting all the propaganda and spin aside, $5 trillion by the end of the fiscal year. They haven't created one damn net job in the private sector. Good going there, boys and girls. Really good. And the answer, of course, is to spend more. Spend more. The same reckless know-nothings who've brought us to the brink are telling us how to get out of the situation that they've created. Now, these views were pronounced among independents who support Democrats will need in 2012 to hold the Senate, recapture the House, or keep Obama in office. The data presented to Democratic senators at the retreat by Jeff Garin, president of Peter Hart Research Associates, and obtained by Bloomberg News highlight a dilemma for Obama and Democrats in the showdown with Republicans over federal spending. They must find a way to show the public they're willing to cut, and they're divided over how far to go. Yeah, see, they want to show that they really want to cut, but they don't really want to cut. How shall we do that? How shall we do it? Kind of hard to do. They'll figure out a way. And ABC News, Jake Tapper and Sunlen Miller, well, they report in an interview with ABC News' Cincinnati affiliate, Obama said that his budget freezes spending for 5 years. And what that does is it solves the short-term problem by saying we're not going to spend any more money than we're taking in. They say, quote, that is factually incorrect. Even after the president's proposed budget, with its optimistic prediction of a 3.9% growth, achieves a point in 2017 when spending is roughly equivalent to taxes coming into the government, the U.S. government will continue to borrow hundreds of billions of dollars a year to pay for interest on the national debt accrued until that point, including debt racked up during the Obama presidency. The man lies. He lies all the time. He can't help it. He likes it. He has fun doing it. But he does it. He lies. Had enough? We'll be right back. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking all week about Obama's budget and how it is unsustainable. Don't roll your eyes. Just stick with me. I want to cite an expert to you. I want to cite Obama's own Treasury Secretary to you, because he believes that Obama's budget, which he signed off on, is a disaster. Now, how do I know this? Because he all but said it under questioning from the great senator from Alabama, Jeff Sessions. Today, cut 10, go.
Under your budget, the interest increases each year. It was $187 billion in 2009. Under your proposal, it increases to $844 billion. I don't know if we have a chart here. And would you not agree that that is a stunning figure, perhaps the fastest growing item in it? And all of that is a direct result of the debt we're running up and only a modest expectation of interest rate increases.
Senator, absolutely. It is a excessively high interest burden. It's unsustainable.
Well, it's your plan for the 10 years. I mean, that's the one the president has submitted. But that's what he's asked us to vote on. It will result, and that's your numbers off your budget.
Senator, you're absolutely right that with the president's plan, even if Congress were to enact it, and even if Congress were to hold to it, and reduce those deficits to 3% of GDP over the next 5 years, we would still be left with a very large interest burden and unsustainable obligations over time. That's why we're having the debate. I completely agree with you. But the question, though, is, to be direct about it, what's the alternative plan? And again, the way our system works, this is a good thing. You're going to see, we'll be able to see from the House, we'll be able to see from this body, whether people can find the political will here to go deeper. And if you can find it...
Well, what your plan is that plan is the one you're required by law to submit, and that's what you call for, and it's not acceptable. I'm sorry, it's a plan not for winning the future, but losing the future.
That is stunning testimony from our Treasury Secretary, Geithner, who said, you heard his own words, who said that the president's budget is unsustainable, that the debt and the interest are unsustainable. You heard him say it, agreed to it. And the best comeback is, what's the alternative? This is crucial testimony, which has somehow been missed by our grand mainstream media out there, which is why I'm playing it, which is what we nationally syndicated hosts do. So Timothy Geithner tells Senator Sessions the president's budget, his economic plan is unsustainable. The debt that it creates, the interest rates it creates, unsustainable. And then he says, but what's the alternative? The Republicans in the House are coming up with an alternative, and what does the president say? If you change my budget in any significant way, I'm going to veto your continuing resolution. After that, I will veto whatever changes you make to this coming year's budget. Listen, this is crucial. The Treasury Secretary, the number one financial guy in the executive branch, in our government, really, is saying that the budget the president is going to defend is unsustainable. And then they say, when it comes to the continuing resolution, that spending is also unsustainable. Keep in mind that it's the Republicans who are prepared to shut down the government. Now listen, Republican leaders in Congress, you need to take Geithner's testimony. You need to write it down. You need to take it to the floor of the Senate, the floor of the House. Read it out loud. Because the administration's official spokesman on the budget says the budget sucks, that the budget can't work. And then the president insists on you passing it. We'll be right back. You know, when you're litigating a case, and there is what we call an admission against interest, that is an extremely strong piece of evidence. It's very convincing. Now, obviously, we're not litigating the president's budget. But the Treasury Secretary, Tim Geithner, was being questioned by an old-time U.S. attorney. I know because he was U.S. attorney when I was chief of staff to the Attorney General. He's an old friend of mine, Jeff Sessions. And we have in this clip I played you before the break an admission against interest, an extremely compelling piece of evidence against Obama given by his own Treasury Secretary. Now, I don't do this often, but we're going to play this clip one more time because it's crucial. So, hat tip YouTube, take a listen from beginning to end, Sessions, questions, Geithner responds, and it's stunning. Cut 10, go.
Under your budget, the interest increases each year. It was $187 billion in 2009. Under your proposal, it increases to $844 billion. I don't know if we have that chart here. And would you not agree that that is a stunning figure, perhaps the fastest growing item in it? And all of that is a direct result of the debt we're running up and only a modest expectation of interest rate increases.
Senator, absolutely. It is a excessively high interest burden. It's unsustainable.
Well, it's your plan for the 10 years. I mean, that's the one the president has submitted. But that's what he's asked us to vote on. It will result, and that's your numbers off your budget.
Senator, you're absolutely right that with the president's plan, even if Congress were to enact it, and even if Congress were to hold to it, and reduce those deficits to 3% of GDP over the next 5 years, we would still be left with a very large interest burden and unsustainable obligations over time. That's why we're having the debate. I completely agree with you. But the question, though, is, to be direct about it, what's the alternative plan? And again, the way our system works, this is a good thing. You're going to see, we'll be able to see from the House, we'll be able to see from this body, whether people can find the political will here to go deeper. And if you can find it.
But what your plan is that plan is the one you're required by law to submit, and that's what you call for, and it's not acceptable. I'm sorry. It's a plan not for winning the future, but losing the future.
It's a plan that's not even acceptable to the man who submitted it. I mean, this is a joke in a sick way. Let's hope that audio is played over and over by the backbenchers tomorrow. Let's hope that somebody in the hard news business has enough intelligence to play it, because it's damning. It just tells the truth. Lots of stuff breaking today, ladies and gentlemen. The Alaska governor, Governor Sean Parnell, says he will not enact the federal health care overhaul after a judge in Florida struck down the law as unconstitutional. He considers that ruling the law of the land, barring implementation in the state. He said the state will pursue options of its own instead. Now, apparently this is becoming a little bit of a concern to the Obama administration, which at this point is a lawless day, whatever it is. So they have filed a bizarre motion, a motion for clarification. It's done. We've done it, but with Judge Vinson. Politico reports the Justice Department today asked the Florida judge who struck down the health care overhaul to declare that the law must still be obeyed. In a motion, the department asked Judge Roger Vinson to clarify that his ruling, quote, does not relieve the parties of their rights and obligations under the Affordable Care Act while the case is being appealed. They want a second bite at the apple. And hopefully Judge Vinson will do what he said on page 75 of his original ruling. Politico writes, in the form of Jennifer Habercorn, Vinson last month struck down the entire health care reform law as unconstitutional, which has caused confusion for the states and federal government about whether they have to proceed with implementation. Some legal scholars and opponents of the law, including the governors of Alaska and Florida, believe the ruling has the effect of an injunction. It's not that they believe it. That's what that's what the judge said. Assuming the judge is consistent with his own ruling, he'll say it again. In his ruling, Vinson implied that the government did not have the authority to enforce an unconstitutional law. The Justice Department spokeshack said, we believe it is important to put to rest any doubts about the ability of states and other parties to continue to implement these critical programs. Now, you may say, Mark, why would they ask or file a motion for clarification rather than a motion to stay the ruling? Because they do not want to accept the ruling. If they file a motion to stay the ruling with the circuit court, then within that, they are admitting that the judge ordered them, through his ruling, to stop implementing Obamacare. Instead, they think they're clever. They're twisting it. They're saying to the judge, would you tell them, please, to go ahead and implement the law? And if you didn't really mean for that to happen, would you tell us more forthrightly? And then if he does that, they're literally a week or two away from appealing the entire decision with the circuit court anyway. What they've done is they've bought themselves about 3 weeks. They hope to buy themselves a few more days to keep implementing at the bureaucratic level. But I thought you'd want to know. And I want to salute the governor of Alaska for doing what's right. And apparently doing what's right takes a lot of courage these days. And it would be very useful if the other governors who participated in that lawsuit would say exactly the same thing. Some have, most have not. I don't know why.